Guys, girls, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm doing something a little bit different, more of a comparison, a bit of a test. So first I'm going to start with this. So this is Yamaha's MT125. If you've seen my previous video on the MT125, I'll put a link in the description if you haven't. But if you have seen it, you will know that I put an MT125 through its paces. I took it on the motorway, I did a performance test with it, and today it probably is the best performing 125 that I've done a video on. So don't forget to check that link out. But this bike costs very close to £5,500 brand new. So it's quite expensive, and there's a new kid on the block that I wanted to compare it to, and that is only because if you look at the specs for this and the other bike, they are pretty identical on horsepower, on weight. They're very similar on looks. The only thing that isn't identical is the price. In fact, it's significantly cheaper, the other bike. It's very close to being half price in comparison to this bike. But when you look at the specifications, they're pretty much identical. So what's the other bike? Let's have a look. The other bike I'm talking about is the R125 by Voge. Now, I know I will hear the comments about Chinese bikes and everything else, but what I will say is Voge are making some quality bikes. The Voge R125 in two different colour schemes, but the reason there's two here is because you can get two of these bikes pretty much for the price of the Yamaha MT125. And as I've already said, shockingly, the specifications and a lot of the equipment that is on the Yamaha is also on these. So it begs the question, would you buy one Yamaha MT125 or would you buy two of these bikes? I know it's stupid, because if you're looking for a 125, you'd only buy one. Of course you would. But it's just to show you what you can get for the price of the MT125. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take an R125 out. I'm going to take the MT125 out. I'm going to do another little performance test. I'm going to do another ride review. I'm going to basically see, is it worth twice the money? They both have 14.7 horsepower. They both weigh around the 140 kilograms. They've both got ABS. They've both got digital screens, and yet two for the price of one. Let's see if it's worth it. I'm not going to do a full walk round video. If you're interested in those, I have got videos on the R125 and I've got a video on the MT as well. Check out those videos. Do you save a lot of money and get one of these, or do you buy two? That's the question. That would cost about the same as the Yamaha. So one for you, one for your friend, one for you, one for your partner. Same price as one of those. It's hard to get my head round. Really is difficult to understand where the money is, other than paying for the badge and paying for the name. That's where my head's at the minute, because when you put them next to each other, very, very similar looking bikes. Well, let's go for a ride. I'll take out, which one do I do first? I'll take the Yamaha out first. We'll see, is it worth the money? And then after I've done that, come back, I'll take one of these Voges out. Is it going to be better? Are they going to be the same? Are they going to be similar? Which one would I buy? Or would I buy two? Decisions. We'll find out. Anyway, I'm going to suit up, get my helmet, get my gloves, and then we're going to go for a ride. Let's see which is best. First bike, the Yamaha. I'm a big fan of this bike, so let's just be clear on this. I'm not just here to push a particular brand like Voge on you, because I really do like this bike. One of my favourite 125s I've ever ridden. But I'm just going to do a bit of a recap. I'm going to do a bit of a blast down a national speed limit road. We'll talk performance, we'll talk comfort, we'll talk all things Yamaha. It sounds alright. When I took the MT125 out last time, it was a used model that had quite a few thousand miles on. It had an upgraded exhaust, but it went like stink. I took it on the motorway, it took me up to 70 and then just seemed to stop like it had a limiter on. But the performance, I've got to say, was exceptional. It's all coming back to me. The Yamaha is, as I remember, it's a very nice bike. I would say normal road riding where you're just on your 30-mile-an-hour roads, it's a nice nippy bike. It gets to your normal road speeds quite quickly, and if you do get to a faster road, it picks up speed very quickly as well, so you can go from 30 to 40 very quickly, no mither. It's a very, very nice bike to ride, this. I can't really fault the MT. I've been on a couple of them now, and every single one I've been on has been just a joy to ride. They are pretty much at the limit of what you can do legally in the UK, so your 125cc bikes, your learner bikes for 17-year-olds or anybody who's completed a CBT over the age of 17 years old, the maximum power is 15 horsepower. Now this bike is 14.7 horsepower, so it is very, very close to the limit of what is allowed legally. The benefits of the 125, isn't it? You've got a little slim bike that you can zip through traffic on, cutting past, because you've got the room. Anybody who's watching from outside the UK, what I did then, a bit of lane splitting, a bit of filtering, it's perfectly legal in the UK. You just have to be responsible and careful. It feels very light and nimble. It has the performance when you need it. It's comfortable. The display, whilst basic, it has got all of the information on there that you need. You've got your rev counter, gear indicator, clock, fuel gauge, total miles, quite a big prominent speedo. It's got everything on there that you would ever want. Okay, so when I've been on 125s in the past and I've done a performance test, in fact, let me take it out of gear, because I know people whinge about that because I'm talking for a minute with holding my clutch. It's not an issue, it's not going to damage the bike, but people will find ways of moaning about everything. So what I'm going to do, right, I'll tell you the purpose of this test. So previously on 125s, I've not been able to get to 60 mile an hour before the long bend. So the road does a little bit of a bend, goes past a couple of trees, and then you can see right in the distance there's like a big building on your left hand side. The road bends around there and then it opens up into a straight. Now generally 125s will get onto 60 mile an hour on that straight. I don't know whether this is going to get to 60 mile an hour before that bend. The 200cc scooter has got to 60 mile an hour before the tree on the left hand side, which is kind of right in front of us there. So I've never had a 125 do that, and if any is going to do it, I would say this has got to get close to it. But I'm going to do this test on the Voge as well, on the R125, so we can see how closely matched they are, because the figures suggest that they are identical, but are they really? Is one going to be slightly better than the other? We will find out. Okay, let's go. We've got a gap. back into a 30. I can talk to you without the wind. Right, so if you notice my little bit of editing there, I've done it because the wind's horrendous when you pick up the speed on this. Because there's no wind protection, it's a naked sports bike, so the wind's gonna, well, it's gonna be there. Now, I got to 57 mile an hour before that bend started. Now, for 125cc performance, I've never had a bike get to 57 mile an hour before that bend starts. So that for me straight away shows you that this bike is a top performer. It really is a top performer. The Kawasaki Z125 that I've tried very recently, that got up to about 53 miles per hour on that same stretch where this was at 57. So quite a significant difference between those two bikes. I was trying to get to 60 mile an hour quickly, but this is a much better performer than the Kawasaki. And the Kawasaki, I don't even know if that's got 14.8 horsepower. They're very, very similar again on the horsepower, but this one achieved a better speed by that first tree point that I use. They are really, really good performing motorcycles, and I can see why they cost £5,500 on the road. I can see why they cost that much, because they are up there with the best, if not the best, as far as performance goes. So I can see why it costs that much. My thing is though, is why does the Voge cost so little if the specifications show them as being very, very similar? And that's what we've got to go and find out. So let me just finish off on this one now. So as I've said, performance is the key thing. I know we all like a good performing bike, especially if you're buying a naked sports bike. You want it to be a good performer, and this is an exceptional performer. It's got enough to get you out of danger, to get you out of trouble, to pick up speed quite quickly, and that's what you want. I'm not talking about racing, I'm not talking about riding it like an idiot. I'm talking about being able to squeeze in those little gaps, get yourself out of bother if a car decides it's gonna change lanes quickly, pull out. You need to have a quick and nimble bike to do that, and speed can help you get out of trouble. It can get you in trouble, of course it can, but it can also get you out of trouble, and that's what I like it for. And riding around town, no issues. You're going to be quicker than most things off the line. You're going to be able to scoot through traffic without holding people up, so it's good. So the Yamaha will always, for me, get a big thumbs up, and it deserves it because they're great bikes. Now let's just try the Voge. Let's see how it compares on the comfort and nimbleness and performance and everything else. And yeah, then we'll cut to me and we'll see. We'll do a bit of a summary once I've ridden both and see which would I pick. At the minute though, I'm absolutely loving this Yamaha. I really cannot fault it. Gonna take the blue one out today. That one's got L plates on. It's nice to ride without L plates on. So in the interest of fairness, I'm going to do exactly the same route that I've just done on the MT, and we're going to see, is that any better? Is it half as good? And that's what we're dealing with here, because it's half the price. So is it better than half as good? Is it close to that? Specifications would suggest it's on par with it. So let's see. Comfort, very, very similar. Both bikes feel exactly the same. Comparing the screens between this and the Yamaha, this one looks nicer. Now I know the Yamaha's got a good screen and it's got everything on there that you need, but this just, the splashes of colour, it just looks like a more expensive screen. which is bizarre considering we're on the cheaper bike. And again, it hasn't got a TFT screen, it is just a digital screen, but it just feels better. I don't know, it's just a few splashes of colour make it look nicer. It looks more modern, let's say that. Again, I'm not doing a full walk around video of this bike, I've done one already. If you're interested, don't forget to look in the description. They're very well put together, it doesn't look particularly cheap, but it is. Let's give it a little bit of a rev, because idling, it's quite quiet again. Now, I actually think that sounds nicer than the Yamaha for a bit of a rev. The Yamaha, don't get me wrong, I can't slate it because the Yamaha is very nice. I just think that this sounds a little bit meatier. Let's take it for a ride. Let's see performance and everything else. They're both very, very similar. Seating positions very similar. Where my legs are placed, very, very similar. This, strangely, feels a little bit smaller. I don't know why, because side by side they do look very, very similar. The pegs may be slightly higher on this, but they're very, very similar in the seating position. The Yamaha's brakes were really, really sharp. This doesn't seem to be quite as sharp as what the Yamaha was. However, I think the reason for that is probably more due to this bike being a brand new bike with no miles on, whereas the Yamaha had been used, so the brakes have had time to bed in a little bit, whereas this is its maiden voyage. I'm going to do the same performance test, but I'm not going to try and take this bike to its limit because it is a brand new bike. I'm just going to take it to 60 miles an hour, but I just want to see how fast it gets there. How does it compare to the Yamaha? Now, riding around the bends, it does feel different. I'm glad I did jump on the Yamaha and then straight onto this, because there is a difference. The exhaust note on this is noticeably louder. The Yamaha does seem to be a little bit more refined as far as the noise goes. It's got a decent sound to it, but it is noticeably louder. Still very nice around the bends. It still feels nice and nimble, nice and light, moving from side to side. There's not a lot in it. Couldn't possibly tell you which feels lighter. They both feel quite light and easy to throw around. So it's difficult to judge on that. I can't say which is better. Now, both bikes as well, I want to point out, they're both in their standard form. Neither have been, I won't say molested, but neither have been altered with any sort of performance enhancing exhaust systems or tuning or anything like that. They're both pretty much straight out of the box bikes. Having jumped on one bike to the other, they do feel slightly different. Not in a one's better, one's worse kind of way. It's just they feel a little bit different. Like, I feel like the pegs might be slightly higher on this, so it might mean that a much taller rider might have an issue on this that they might not have on the Yamaha. So there's potential for that, but they're both very similar in size, bar, width, everything. They both give you the same amount of confidence when it comes to filtering or lane splitting or whatever you call it, wherever you are. When there is loads of traffic like this, you can sneak right through the middle of it. It's just a nice bike to ride, as the other one was. Something on this bike that I didn't really notice on the Yamaha, there is a little bit of vibration through the bars, only very tiny. But again, I am nitpicking because I want to be very fair in the comparison, and I couldn't really fault the Yamaha at all. There's very little to complain about with that bike. It doesn't feel as quick as the Yamaha, whilst there are subtle differences between both bikes. So far, just the initial riding around the road, doing 30-40 mile an hour roads, there isn't a great deal to tell them apart. Like, I would say yes, the Yamaha does have more of a premium feel to it. It does. I think having the black bar on the Yamaha and the switch gear just feels to be a bit better on the Yamaha, but you would expect that because the bike is pretty much double the price. But actually riding it and throwing it round the bends and the ease of riding, changing gears, all of that, very similar. So I'm not noticing a massive difference with that. If I was a betting man, I would say it's going to be a little bit slower, and that's only because I know how good the Yamaha is and how quick that was, and I don't think there's much really that can achieve those speeds what the Yamaha does. But the figures suggest it's got the same power. So if it's got the same power, I don't see why it shouldn't or couldn't get to the same level as the Yamaha. But we're going to find out. So let me pull over here. I'll start at exactly the same place that I started on the Yamaha. So far, there's no way I would say that this bike is half the price of the Yamaha. No way. Absolutely obscene when you look at it from that point of view. Is it better? Yeah, I would say we're about to find out. So this same stretch again, let's see where we get up to in comparison. Blown away. Wow, I can't believe that. I'd have lost my bet. So on that first bend, like where the tree is, the Yamaha achieved a 57 mile an hour and it got to 60 pretty much right after that bend. So it performed better than any other 125 that I've tried. I've just done exactly the same on this. This actually felt like it was slightly quicker. I'm pretty certain that one got to, it was 57 or 58, but it felt like it was picking up speed more than what the Yamaha was at that point. So that for me is absolutely phenomenal. I thought, genuinely, from my initial ride down here, I thought the Yamaha had that test in the bag. I thought the Yamaha felt quicker, felt nippier, just riding around on the 30 mile an hour roads. But once you open them up, this actually matched it. In fact, possibly slightly better. It might have beat it by 1 mile an hour, because I'm pretty certain just after that tree, it was showing 58 mile an hour, whereas the Yamaha wasn't. The Yamaha, I'm just... wow, that is, I'm lost for words. That's crazy. How can a bike half the price? I'm honestly, right, I've got to point out, I get no money from Moto, I get no money for Voge, I get no money for Yamaha, I get no money for anything. The only money I ever earn is from YouTube, and I've got to tell you, with the amount of subscribers I've got, it's not a great deal. I'm certainly not the Missingdon Flyer, and I know that before anyone starts saying it's because I'm rubbish or it's because I'm crap, and that's why. I get that. I'm trying my best, and I hope I'm improving with each video, but what I've got to say is I am absolutely blown away. The performance of this bike is equal to the MT. I would say it felt slightly better in that this felt like it was picking up speed faster once I got up to 55. This kept picking up speed, and I'm sure right after that tree it's beat the Yamaha anyway by 1 mile an hour. Now I know 1 mile an hour, neither in that could be down to my riding style, and you know, a different rider might have got it slightly quicker, whatever. However, I'm the same rider on both bikes, putting them both through their paces, trying to do the best with both, and on that basis this was 1 mile an hour faster than what the Yamaha was. Now 1 mile an hour is not the end of the world, I understand that, and there will be people that say yes, but the speedos might be slightly out. I get that as well, and that's why I'm not making a massive deal of it. I'm saying they are pretty much identical. They honestly, performance wise, I know the horsepower is showing as 14.7, they both are showing exactly the same, but I still didn't expect that. I expected the Yamaha to win hands down, and it hasn't. This has wowed me. It genuinely has wowed me, because when you look at these bikes and you look at them next to each other, I struggle to see where the extra money is, and I really do struggle to see where the extra money is. There is little things like the switchgear is slightly better, and I get that, and I've mentioned that little, I mean, it's tiny, minuscule bit of vibration that you get from this, but when you look at the other factors, like I think the screen's better on this. I think if you put it down to looks, well, they're very similar. I actually prefer the looks of the Voge. I know that's subjective and everyone will have a different opinion on that, and I would be interested to know yours, because I genuinely do really like the MT. As you saw on my little ride on it, I'm back. I've been on both, and do you know what? I'm absolutely blown away with this one. Now I genuinely, when I went out today, I thought, well, the Yamaha is obviously a better bike because it's a Yamaha and it's £5,500, so it's gonna be the better bike. And I went on it, and yeah, it's a lovely bike, it works as it should. I cannot fault it. As a 125 goes, it's comfortable, the performance is good. There's nothing really to complain about. Now then I jumped on the Voge, and the Voge is very similar in the position. The switchgear, I would say, it does look a little bit cheaper than the Yamaha, but you're talking a little bit, nothing major. Overall quality is very similar. But then I do the performance test, and this bike I thought would be just like any other 125cc bike, but it actually was very, very close, if not better than the Yamaha. I got 1 mile an hour faster on that than I did on that, which for me is just mind-blowing. And not because it shouldn't, because they're both, on paper, they're both 14.7 horsepower. They're both very, very similar, weight, performance, everything on paper, but you never expect that to transfer to reality, do you? When it comes to a bike of quality, as we all know, Yamahas are quality, we know it. But you expect Yamaha to wipe the floor with a bike that is half the price, and it just doesn't. It honestly, my head's gone with it. I expect it to come back here to tell you that the Yamaha is a better bike, but this is cheaper. So for the differences, get this. That in my head was how I thought today was going to go. But having ridden both, I would say that they are really, really similar to ride. Really similar in the characteristics on the road, the way they feel. They're very, very similar. Certainly not enough for me to say this one is twice the price. And in fact, if this one was £500 more, I'd be shocked. It's the fact that it's literally thousands of pounds more than this. I don't get it. I'm baffled. I'm genuinely baffled. I think the only reason you would buy this bike over that one is, one, you have a lot of disposable income that you want to buy a Yamaha. You're buying the name, you're buying because everyone's told you Yamahas will last forever. That's the only reason I can see for you buying this bike over this one, because this is a new brand to the UK. Voge, they've been here for 12 months. Are they a new company? No, they've been making bikes for years in other parts of the world, but they're new to the UK. So mentally, people haven't got the head round buying a brand that they've not really heard of before, or they don't know too much about. And that for me is the only difference between these two bikes, because they are so similar in riding and performance that the only difference is the name, and the name is not worth all of those thousands of pounds for me. It just doesn't, it's not worth it. Oh, honestly, this one it's gobsmacked me. Wow. So let me answer this question. I'm gonna ask myself the question: if money was not an option, because I thought it was going to be all based about money today, but if money was not an option and somebody came to me today and said, you can have one of those bikes for nothing, pick which bike you would have. Just one of those bikes, you can have one. You ride it home today, won't cost you anything. Do you know what bike I'd pick? I would pick the Yamaha. I would sell it instantly. I would buy one of these and I would have £2,500 in my pocket to, I'd take myself on holiday or something. And that's what I would do, purely because I think, having ridden both these bikes, I think I prefer the Voge. I think the Voge is, when it comes to how much it costs, I don't think you can choose this. And it's still a great bike. I'm not dissing it. It's a great bike, and if you've got the money for one, it's a great bike. But if you're looking for a bike with exactly the same, if not better performance, if not better looks, I know that's subjective, but if you're looking for a bike just like this one, only cheaper, then you pick this one. Because the only reason to have this bike given to you would be you can sell it, buy one of them and pocket a couple of £1,000, and that's exactly what I'd do. So on that massive bombshell, and it is, I'm going for a lie down, I think. I'll put a link in the description for both bikes should you be interested, because I know some people, they just want a Yamaha. Nothing wrong with it, but for me, all day, I would have that one. I definitely need a lie down. Head blown.